Hello students, how are you? I hope you are fine, my students. Students, in the previous class, we have done with Newton's first law of motion, that is the law of inertia. Law of inertia is done. So, from the law of inertia, what does law of inertia tell us, my students? Law of inertia gives us a definition of force. How does it give us the definition of force? So, if a body at rest will be at rest. If a body is moving with uniform velocity in a straight line, it will be do so unless there is an external force. Unless there is an external force. So from this we can obtain the definition of force. So force can change the condition of motion. We can say a force can accelerate the body. Force is the agent which causes the acceleration in the body acted by it. So unless there is an external force, from there we define the definition of force. It's an agent which causes the acceleration. So there is one term, my dear students, law of inertia. There is inertia. So you know that inertia. So there is mass is a measure of inertia, my students. Mass is the measure of inertia. So suppose, for example, take, my dear students, we have a 5 rupee coin and a 1 rupee coin, which has more mass. So which has more mass? Obviously, the 5 rupee coin has more mass, which means so the 5 rupee coin has more inertia. So suppose if I tell you which has more inertia, whether it is if I tell you train or bicycle, which has more inertia. So if the greater is the mass, more the inertia. Greater the mass, more the inertia. If the mass is more, inertia is more. Because mass is a measure of inertia. Understand my difference? So in case of bicycle and train, which has more inertia, obviously which has more mass, train has more mass. So train possesses more inertia as compared to bicycle. So suppose if we had taken a rubber ball and of the same size of stone. So which has more inertia? So the stone of the same size as the size of rubber ball has more inertia. So stone as size of rubber ball has more inertia. So these are inertia, my friends. So there are in this law of inertia, there are 3 parts, my friends. That is inertia of rest, inertia of rest, inertia of rest, inertia of rest, inertia of motion, inertia of rest, inertia of motion, inertia of direction. Inertia of direction. So these 3 we have to discuss, my students. What is inertia of rest? So it is an inherent. It is an inability of a body. It is an inability of a body to change its rest unless acted by an external force. Acted by an external unbalanced force. So this is known as inertia of rest. So what is inertia of motion? So it is an inherent property. It is the inability of a body to change its state of motion unless acted by an external force. Simply, my dear friends, if anybody which is in motion, which has a tendency not to change its motion, so that is known as the inertia of motion, because it is if the body is in motion, which possesses inertia of motion. Then what is inertia of direction, my friends? So we can define inertia of direction. It is the inability of a body. It is the inability of a body to change its direction of motion unless acted by an external force. This is known as the inertia of direction. So there are some daily life examples of these inertia of rest, direction, motion. So if you are suppose you take one example, my students. So if you are standing in a resting bus, my students. We are standing in a resting bus. So if the driver accelerates bus, if the bus moves forward, what happens to my friends? We will fall backwards. That is due to inertia of rest. That is due to inertia of rest, my friends. How? So the explanation is, my friends, when we are standing in the resting bus, so our upper body is not contact with the bus and our lower body is contact with the bus. So as soon as the bus moves forward, as our lower body is making contact with the bus, it will move forward. So as our upper body is not making contact with the bus, So because it is at rest position, it has a tendency not to change its state of rest, because this upper portion are having a possess inertia of rest. So in order to be at rest, so the resting object must be in rest, that is inertia of rest. So in order to be our upper body, in order to be, it tends to be at rest, it tries to be at rest. Instead the lower part of our body moves forward. That's why we'll fall backward. This is because of inertia of rest. So take another example, my students. The trees, the leaves, the tree leaves possess inertia of rest. How, my students? So because of they possess inertia of rest, they will detach from the tree if you vigorously shake the branches of the tree. So how does it happen, my students? The explanation is, so when we shake the branches, so there is a leaves, they are at rest. So if they are at rest, they possess inertia of rest. They try to be at rest, they tend to be at rest. They tends to be at rest. So if you shake the branches will move, because the leaves are at rest. They try to be at rest because they possess inertia of rest. So in order to try to be at rest, they will detach from the branches of tree and they will fall down. So this is also happening because due to inertia of rest. So take another example, my students. So dust particles in the carpet possess inertia of rest. So if you beat the dust carpet, my students, so the carpet will move, but the dust in the carpet, because they are at rest, they possess inertia of rest. So if they are having inertia of rest, they tries to be at rest. So in order to be at rest, the dust particles, so they will be at rest. They continue to be at rest. So as the carpet moves, so they will tend to at rest. So by the effect of gravity, they will fall down. So in this case also, the dust particles, they possess inertia of rest. So coming to inertia of motion, my students, when we stand, example of inertia of motion is when we stand in a moving bus, my students. So similar case, when we are standing in a moving bus, what happens if the driver brakes? We will fall forward due to inertia of motion. So because our upper body is not making contact with the bus, our lower body is making contact with the bus. So our upper body is not making contact with the bus, which is in motion. So any body which is in motion possesses inertia of motion. So our upper body tends to be in motion. So instead the brake is applied. So as soon as the bus come to rest, our lower body, as it is making contact with the bus, it will be stopped. It will be stopped, my students. It will be stopped along with the bus. But our upper body possesses inertia of motion. It tries to be in motion. So in order to try to in motion our upper body, so we will jerk forward. We will fall forward. This is also because of due to inertia of motion. What about inertia of direction, my students? So similarly, so if the bus is moving, we are standing in the bus. So if the driver turns the bus right side, we will fall left side. If he turns right side, we will fall left side. If he turns left side, we will fall right side. That is due to inertia of direction, my students. So this is about the first law of motion, that is known as this is Newton's first law of motion, that is known as law of inertia. Because this first law of Newton dealing with inertia, the name itself is given law of inertia. Now, my dear students, now we have to discuss about the second law, Newton's second law of motion. Second law of motion, Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion, my dear students. So before going to explain this law, before going to understand this law, we have to know one physical quantity, my dear students, that is momentum. That is momentum. So we have to know one quantity before going to understand this second law of motion, Newton's second law of motion. We have to know one quantity, that is momentum. What is momentum, my students? So simply, it is simple, my students. If a body is moving, so any body in our surroundings, my students, possess mass. Is it or not? Mass m. So any object having mass m. So when it is when the body having mass m moving, so if the body moves, it possesses velocity. Yes, it possesses velocity v, having mass m. So the combined property of mass and velocity, the combined property of mass and velocity of a body is known as momentum. So the combination, we can say momentum, it's a effect of motion. We can say it is the effect of motion. So which body possesses the effect of motion? Which body, that is inertia, that is momentum. Which body possesses the momentum or effect of motion? The body which is in the state of motion possesses the effect of motion, that is momentum. So how can we calculate the momentum, my students? So because momentum can create force, my students. So any body having mass m, having velocity v. Understand, my students? If it hits another body, my students, it applies force. So momentum can apply force. Momentum can create force. So it is an effect of motion. So any body which is in motion possesses a momentum. So it's a property of it's a combined property of mass and velocity of an object is known as momentum. So momentum creates force. Momentum creates force. It applies force. So how can we calculate momentum, my students? So momentum can be calculated by mass multiplied by velocity. So for this we have one letter. So to indicate momentum, mass times velocity, we have one term, my students. So the momentum is indicated by P. Momentum is indicated by P. Momentum symbol is P. P is equal to what, my students? M into V. So what is the momentum? Is it a vector quantity or scalar quantity, my students? It's a vector quantity. So listen, my students, what is the magnitude? What is the vector quantity, my students? Vector quantity means a quantity which is having both the magnitude and direction. So what is the magnitude of this momentum? Magnitude of this momentum is mass into velocity. We can simply say mass into velocity. This gives mass into velocity, gives the magnitude of momentum. So what is the direction of this momentum? So the direction of the momentum is in the direction of velocity. Is in the direction of velocity. So the direction of velocity gives the direction of momentum. So the arrow I have written over the letter indicating it's a vector. So here mass is a scalar quantity, students. Mass is a scalar quantity. So we can simply write the momentum formula P equal to m into v. So as P and V are vector quantities, so I have written an arrow over it, and m which is a scalar quantity. That's why I didn't write the arrow over it. So it's a momentum of a single particle, my students. It's a momentum of a single particle. So it's a momentum of a single particle, my students. So there is a difference between a single particle and system of particles, my students. There is a difference between single particle and system of particles. Single particle also moves. System of particles also moves. For example, system of particles. What is single particle and what is system of particles, my students? Single particles means a single point-sized particle. A single particle. What is a system of particles? This fan, my students. Fan having 3 blades and one motor at the center. So it is having a system of members, particles. That is known as system of particles or system. So similarly, my students, this is single particle as well as a system of particle possess momentum. If they are in motion. So what is the momentum of a system of particles, my students? What is the momentum of a system of particles? Let us wrap this, my students. So listen, students. Single particle also moves, it possesses momentum. System of particle or system also moves, it possesses momentum, my students. So system in the physics, my students, we have one definition for the system. So system of particles. So if a system has to be a system of particles, so their particles velocities, each particle velocities must be same, must be constant. Their velocities must be constant in the direction of motion. Their velocity must be constant. The system of particles velocity must be constant. Suppose take, my students, if a car, suppose car is a system of particles in which seat is there, steering is there, sorry, not steering, engine is there, seats are there, glasses are there. So when the all this combined, all this combination of members, we can say system. So if it is moving, so this seat velocity, glasses velocity, and then passengers velocity, engine velocity will be equal. Then that type of combination of members, combination of particles, we can say system of particles or system. So this also possesses momentum, my students. This also possesses momentum. Let us consider one single particle from the system of particles. In a system of particles, a single particle, a first particle, a particle having mass m1, and velocity v. It is a particle 1. Second particle. Take second particle, my students. Second particle having mass m2 and velocity v. Let us take third particle. Third particle mass m3 and velocity v. Why I have taken a v as constant, my students? Because it is a system of particles. In the system of particles, velocities must be constant. So that's why I have taken v. The velocities are constant. Then what about the masses? Masses, they will vary from one particle to another particle, as long as their velocity is same. Then we can say system of particles. So what is the sum of this total momentum of this system of particles? So we can simply sum them. That gives a total momentum of the system of particles. So total momentum of system of particles, we can write m1 v plus m2 v plus m3. So why we have to do simple addition, simple sum? Because mass is a scalar quantity, mass is a scalar quantity. V is a velocity is a vector quantity. So it has direction. Velocity is a vector direction. Velocity is a vector quantity, it has direction. So it is moving in a straight line, my students. Here it is moving in a straight line. Here it is moving in a straight line. So the velocities are same and they are moving in a straight line. Their velocity is same and they are moving in a straight line. Now we are trying to take the total momentum of a system of particles, my students. We are trying to explain about, we are trying to discuss, we are trying to learn, we are trying to understand the total momentum of system of particles. If it is a system of particles, their velocities must be equal. That's why I have written v, and they are moving in a straight line. So if the velocity is moving in a straight line, my students, so we can say, so it has only magnitude without direction. We need not to take direction as long as it is moving in a straight line. So here velocities are same and they are moving in a straight line. So this v has only magnitude without direction. So that's why I have just sum of them. It's a vector sum, my students. It's a vector sum. Because it's a vector, it gives only magnitude without direction because it is moving on a straight line. So we need not to take the direction because the direction is not changing. So we can common them, my students. So we can take common v. So v into m1 plus m2 plus m3. So from here we can write, my students, for m1 plus m2 plus m3 we can write capital N into v. So it's a v, we can write like this. Okay, no problem. So this is the total momentum of the system of particles. Total momentum of the system of particles. What happens when the incident takes place, my friends? What happens when the incident takes place? For example, what is the incident, my students? When the incidents take place, after the incidents, my students, these particles, these masses, they will separate, they will apart after the incidents, and their velocities will vary. So their velocities vary, their magnitude of velocities vary, as well as direction also vary. So what I am telling, my students, do you make sense of this? Take an example. So suppose there is a system of gun and bullet system. There is a gun and bullet system. There is a gun and bullet system, my students. So gun in this when we trigger on, when we press the trigger, what happens, my students? So the powder will blast inside the gun. The powder will blast inside the gun, my students. So due to blast, so it exerts force on the bullet, and the bullet moves forward, and the bullet moves forward, and the gun recoils backward, and the gun jerk backward. That is known as recoiling. That is also known as recoiling velocity. So the gun will moves backward, the bullet will moves forward. So before incidents, so let us rub this to understand this. So this M V equation 1. Assume it's equation 1, my students. So it's a total momentum of system of particles. Now I am rubbing. So here, my students, so after incidents, what happens, my students? If it is a gun, so here is a powder. As soon as we press the trigger, what happens, my students? It will blast, and the bullet will move forward, and the gun will backward. The gun will move backwards, my students. So after these incidents, the blasting, we can say incidents. The blasting, we can say the incidents. So the sum of the system of particles before incidents and after incidents are equal, my students, are constant. This is known as conservation of linear momentum. This is known as conservation of momentum. So which means this gun has mass mg, so velocity vg, plus, so this bullet has mass mv, velocity vv, equal to, so it's a before incidence, after incidence mg vb plus mb vb. So before incidence, before trigger, before we press the trigger, so what is the velocity of the gun and bullet? 0, because they are at rest. So if you substitute 0 here 0, here 0, this term will become 0. So mg vb plus md vb. So from here, my students, if you take md vb minus md vb, mg vg, so vg equal to minus mv by mg into vb. So this vg, it's a recoiling velocity. It's a velocity, v for velocity, g means gun. It's a recoiling velocity of gun, my students. Recoiling velocity of gun. So this is a conservation of momentum, my students. So we have obtained mv, equation 1. Remember, my students, mv we obtained. So that is a sum of system of particles. Sum of system of particles. Sum of system of particles before incidence equal to sum of system of particles after incidence, my students. So after incidence, what happens, my students? Before incidence, their velocity is same. After incidence, what happens? They will move. After incidence, after pressing trigger, what happens? They will move. Their velocity will vary. Their direction also vary. Their direction will also vary. If you analyze, my dear students, example of a balloon, inflated balloon. If you inflate the balloon and if you puncture the balloon, what happens, my students? If you puncture the balloon, what happens? The balloon will go away. The balloon will go away, my dear students. So before incidence, before we puncturing the balloon, inflated balloon, what happens? So the balloon is at rest. So their momentum is 0. So after the balloon, after we puncture, after the puncture means incidence. After the incidence, so the balloon will moves backward and the air will moves forward. The inflated balloon. So the balloon momentum is 5 units, my students, and the air momentum is -5. as they are opposite in direction. If you puncture the inflated balloon, my students, so the air and the balloon, they will move oppositely. Their momentum is opposite because momentum is a vector quantity. So the air offers -5 momentum and the balloon offers +5 momentum. So +5 and -5. What is the total momentum of the system of particle? That is 0. Before the incidence, that was 0. Which means before and after the incidence, the total momentum of a system of particle is 0. My students. So this is known as a conservation of linear momentum and conservation of linear momentum. Listen, my students, here as long as there is no external force, that is internal force, my students. Here the powder will blast. Powder as well as the bullet, they are internal members of this gun system. So here internal forces happen, which means in this internal process is involved. Internal process is involved. There is no external process or external force. There is no external force or external process. If you apply external force, then there is a change in momentum, my students. Because the momentum will create the force. Force will change the force also create the change in momentum, my students. So that's why here there is no external force, my students. External force leads to change in momentum. So that's why external force is related to change in momentum. If there is internal force, then the sum of total momentum of the system of particle is conserved, is constant. So here, my students, so this will be equal. So after the incidence, my students, what happens? It is before the incidence. After the incidence, I am writing again, my students, m1v plus m2v plus m3v equal to mv. It is the equation 1. Remember? So after the incidence, suppose in case of a balloon, if you puncture the balloon, puncture means incidence. Puncturing is incidence. So after the incidence, the velocity of the system of particles will vary because the balloon will go in different directions. Velocity will change. The air will go in different directions. So the velocity will change. So this velocity will become v1 plus this velocity will become v2. So if you take the each particle's momentum, m1 v1, m2 v2 after the incidence. It is before incidence. It is before incident. It is after incident. It is after incidence. So m2 v2 plus m3 v2. So these two will be equal, my students. These two will be equal, conserved. These two will be conserved. That's why from this we can write m1v plus m2v plus m3v equal to m1v1 plus m2v2 plus m2v2 plus m3v3. So this is a conservation of linear momentum, students. Take another. So listen, my students. Here it is a simple sum. It is not a simple sum, my students. As its direction changes, magnitude as well as direction also changes. May also changes. May not change. It may also change. So that's why we have to write like this. It is not a scalar sum, my students. It's a scalar sum. As the particle is moving in a straight line, it's a scalar sum. It may be scalar sum. It may not be scalar sum. So it can be a vector sum. If you analyze another example, my students, take another example to understand this. So take one carrom board example, my students. Carrom board example. Take one carrom board example, my students, like this. So we have carrom board like this. So here is a player, my students. Here is a coin. Here is a striker. So the striker will, if the striker hits this, so while it is moving, it possesses mass m1 and velocity v1. So while it is moving, so before incidence, my students, it is having mass m2 And velocity, what about velocity, my students? Velocity is 0 here because it is at rest. Velocity is 0. So it is before incidence. It is moving to strike this kind. So it means here incident is not taking place. Here incident didn't take place yet. Incident did not take place here yet. So before incidence, this is the before incidence. Before incidence, my student, tell me. Before incident, what is the total momentum of the system of particle? So m1 v1 plus m2 0. m2 0. It's the equation 1. So we can write m1 v1 plus 0. So after striking this, so the striker can go in this direction and this coin will go in this direction. So it is after the incidence, my friends. After the incidence. After incident. So it is m1 v2. It is m2 v3. So here velocity changes, the direction also changes. So which means here vector sum. So to sum up this vector quantity, these two vector quantities, we have resultant here. So by using a parallelogram method, we can get the resultant in this direction. Understand, my students? So that's, it's a vector sum, my students. Vector sum is different from scalar sum. Vector sum you will learn, my students, in the 11th class 11. So after incident, my students, here m1 v2 plus m2 v3. It is not a vector sum. It is not a scalar sum, my student. It's a vector sum, and it's a after incidence. So these two will be conserved for the system of particles. So we can write m1 v1 equal to m1 v2 plus m2 v3. So the system of the total momentum of a system of particle is conserved if there is an internal force. So we can also say if there is no external force, then the total momentum of the system of particle is conserved. So this is about the law of conservation of momentum. Students, so let us do some numericals on the conservation of linear momentum, friends. Conservation of momentum. So here first numericals. So from a rifle of mass 4 kg, so he has given mass of the rifle mr 4 kg. So first of all we have to take given data and then we have to find out what he is asking. So the given data is from a rifle of mass 4 kg. Mass of rifle, armament rifle is 4 kg. A bullet of mass 50 gram. Mass of bullet is 50 gram. He has given. So gram is not the SI unit of mass. So kg is the SI unit of mass. So we will convert it to kg, that is 0.05 kg. So that is the mass of the bullet is given with a velocity of 35 meter per second. So velocity he has given. Is it initial velocity or final velocity? Let us analyze. So calculate the initial recoil velocity. So he is asking recoil velocity. So recoil velocity of the gun we have derived in the just now measurements. That is a recoil velocity. Recoil velocity of gun or rifle equal to minus of mb by mass of the bullet by mass of the rifle into velocity of the bullet. It gives the recoil velocity. So what is the initial velocity? According to law of conservation of momentum, my students, what is the initial velocities of the rifle and bullet? 0, because they are at rest initially. So that's why. So here given is not the given velocity is not initial velocity, that is the final velocity. So here initial velocities of the rifle and bullet will be velocity of the rifle and velocity of the bullet will be 0. That's why their momentum is 0. So what about the final velocity? Final velocity of the bullet he has given, that is 35 meter per second. Understand, my students? Now he is asking to find out the recoil velocity. So recoil velocity of the gun. So this is the formula. So mv is mass of the bullet. Mass of the bullet is 0.05 kg. minus 0.05 kg by, so mass of the rifle he has given 4 kg. So into velocity of the bullet he has given 35 meter per second. So if we do this calculator, we get minus 0.43 meter per second. Here minus indicates, my students, minus indicates the opposite direction of the recoiling of the rifle. So if you press the trigger, my students, so the rifle will jerk backward and the bullet will goes forward. So it is the opposite direction of the bullet. That's why this minus indicates opposite direction of the recoiling velocity. So listen, students, the second numerical from the law on the conservation of linear momentum. So here it is looking like a big one, my students, big problem. It is not that much big problem that you think. It is very simple. So because it is numerical on law of conservation of linear momentum. So here, my students, what is given data? That's it. We have to write. So here two orbital masses 100 gram and 200 gram. So masses he has given one m1 and m2. So m1 is 100 gram. 100 gram if you convert into kgs, so 0.1 kg. So m2 200 gram. If you convert into kgs, it is 0.2 kgs. So suppose if there is a gram, my students, if you want to convert the kgs, gram into kgs, so we have to shift the decimal points up to 3 because kg is 10 to the power of 3, my students. K means kg, that is 10 to the power of 3. 10 to the power of 3 means we have to shift it up to before 30 decimal points. So here 1 decimal point, second decimal point, third decimal point. So before 2 we have to put point that is converted to kgs simply. So 0.2 kgs. So here 1 decimal point, 2 decimal point, third decimal point. Here we have to take point. So 0.1 kg. So he has given two masses are moving along the same line, moving in a same line. So and the direction, same line and direction. So if they are moving in the same direction, same line, we have to sum up. We have to simply sum there. We have to simply sum their momentum, total momentum. Understand the difference with velocities? So he has given two velocities, 2 meter per second and 1 meter per second, respectively. So we have taken two velocities, u1 initial velocities, 2 meter per second, two initial velocities, so 1 meter per second, respectively. And they collide. Collide means incidence. So they are before incidence. So they collide and after collision, after the incidence, collision means incidence. The first object moves at a velocity of 1.67 meter per second. So it is a final velocity. So final velocity as v1 equal to 1.67 meter per second is the final velocity. Now he is asking determine the velocity of the second object. So here he has given two masses, two sets of velocities, two masses and two sets of velocities. So three velocities he has given and asking third velocity, and it is depending on the law of conservation of linear momentum. So law of conservation of linear momentum, these are formula of law of conservation of linear momentum. So m1 u1 plus m2 u2. So this is the total momentum before collision, before incidence, equal to total momentum after collision. This is what conservation of linear momentum. Here before and after the incidence, the momentum, the sum of momentum, they are conserved, they are constant. So he has given m1 u1, m2 u2, m1 u1, m2 even, v2 he has not given. Just to simplify, just to substitute, my students, all the given you substitute. So we simply if we substitute m1 here, m1 0.1 kg into u1 here 2 meter per second plus m2 0.2 kg into m1 into u1 into u2 1 meter per second equal to m1 here 0.1 into v1 1.67 plus m2 0.2 kgs into v2 we have to find out. Simply you do the operation, mathematical operation, my students. So we get a v2, from here we get a v2 1.16 meter per second, my students. In this way we have to find out the numericals based on conservation of linear momentum. The formula is this, my students. Remember this formula. So whenever he asks about whenever he asks on the linear conservation of linear momentum numericals, so he will take all the data, my students. He will take all the data. So understand? so he will miss one velocity. So that velocity you have to find out by using this formula. So you remember this formula, my students. Remember this formula. So you have to substitute and you have to do the mathematical operations simply. So in the previous problem, there is a recarrying velocity. So recarrying velocity along with this formula, it is enough, my students. So the numericals will be on these two type only. So